Yo, good morning. It's bright and early. Hopefully, everybody getting that rest on that daylight savings time switch. I'm still adapting to it myself, man. I'm actually on my way to go start some errands in the morning. But we're gonna get right into it. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. Spurs have hit a little bit of a losing streak. They've lost what, three in a row? Yeah, three in a row. They lost to Toronto, Clippers, and Denver. Yeah, 3-game losing streak as of today. They played Denver Nuggets back at home, and they got another tough one on Wednesday against Memphis. And I don't even know if you can even ask this question. Like, are you worried as a Spurs fan because the Spurs lost three in a row? Like, we've had no expectations coming into the year, so I don't know if any Spurs fans should be worried or concerned because we've lost three in a row. I even seen something like on Twitter, like talking about the Primo situation lingering over the team type stuff, and I'm like, no, I don't think so. I mean, I'm not saying that it's not bothering maybe some players because they all seem pretty close, but nah, man. I mean, I look at it like this, man. The NBA, the talent level in the NBA is probably the best it's ever been. Nobody's actually talking about that, but I think the talent in the NBA is the best it's ever been, because even the teams that are quote unquote bad, like Houston or Orlando, like they still have talent. Like, back in the day, you can kind of say, all right, they're just not good. There's no way they're gonna beat. There was no way a random team was gonna beat the Kobe and Shaq Lakers when they were like in their prime. Like it may drop a game or two here and there, but if the Lakers lose or like if a dynasty team lose, it was literally because they were bored out there and they just decided to turn it up. I think today, man, it's like, I mean, you saw the Warriors blow like what, a 16, 17 point lead last week to the Orlando Magic and lost by one. Like, it's hard to win games in the NBA. It's starting to get like the NFL. Like, football is the ultimate team sport, and anything can happen any week in football. I feel like the NBA is starting to get like that. Like, of course, you got teams that'll definitely win in a 7-game series, but when you're talking like regular season, like all these teams have talent, and so just look at the Spurs' schedule. Like during the 3-game losing streak, they had Toronto, who's Siakam, but I hate that he's has to sit some time out due to his injury, because man, Siakam is looking like, dude, he might have been taking a gigantic step in his development. He's looking good. Plus all the length they got around them. Like Toronto's a sleeper in the East. So like you had those guys on Wednesday, and then you had the Clippers Friday. We know how well the Clippers played without Kawhi Leonard. I mean, they've been playing without Kawhi the past 2 years. And then plus John Wall, Paul George, like that's still a really good team. So you had the Clippers Friday, and then you had the Denver Nuggets on the back-to-back. Then you got Denver tonight at home, but they're still the same team. You got Denver tonight and then Memphis on Wednesday. Like, man, your schedule, like if you don't squeeze a win or two here and there, you can have a tough stretch as far as just schedule and easily drop 4, 5, 6 games in a row. Like, the NBA is talented right now. And I think the Spurs have just caught a bad break in the schedule, and it's been tougher to get wins. And all while that's been going on, they've been dealing with guys in and out the lineup with injuries and minute restrictions. So the Spurs have been dealing with a lot internally, as well as the tough schedule that they have. But I'm going to say this again so that I'm clear. Yes, when the Spurs, we want the Spurs to win, at least me. I know a lot of Spurs fans want them to tank. If we get Victor, I would be happy, okay? But I still want to see these guys compete, and I feel like they are doing that. And I feel like no matter what, it's still a win-win situation for the Spurs. I mean, if the Spurs find a way to be competitive and get some wins and get into the play-in, it's a success this year because you got 5 teenagers. So it's not like you have a bunch of vets where you were getting the playing game with the DeRozan and the Patty Mills and LaMarcus Aldridge and the Bellinellis and all those guys. Like, it's different. You got 5 teenagers. So I still think that's a success. I know everybody wants Victor Wembanyama, but I also want to see if the guys that we have on this roster who are lottery picks, like Devin Vassell and Malachi Branham and Jeremy Sohan, it was Primo, but we know that situation. But I want to see some of these other guys that are also lottery picks show some type of growth and allow us to feel comfortable that we can still keep these guys with us during this rebuild. I would be a lot more worried if we have all these lottery picks on our roster like we do, and they look terrible on the court because they can't compete. Now, even if we get Victor Wembanyama, we got Victor Wembanyama, but he's surrounded by no one. And I don't think that's going to be the case. I think these guys have already shown growth. But I'm just saying, that's why I kind of want these guys to still compete at a high level. Now, if they still lose, I guess you could say it's a double win. But, you also got to care about the guys on the roster. And you still want to, like right now, like the Spurs still have to build a culture. I know we want to harp on the days in the past, but this is just like I tell people in the business that I'm in AAU, like you always got to reinvent yourself because you're dealing with new generations. So the generations that may have honored the Spurs culture because they grew up knowing Tim Duncan and Ginobili and Parker, this is a new era. You got to think like kids that are 18 years old was born in 2005, 2006. So that means they definitely missed, I'm going to say, 3 of the Spurs championships from 99, 03, and 05. And they probably they don't even know what happened in 2007. And they probably barely remember what happened in 2014 when the Spurs won their last championship. So I'm just saying, and these are kids that are 18 today. So you have to still care about what you're building and not just look at what happened 20 years ago because nobody's going to care. I tell Knicks fans this all the time, like, these kids today don't know New York Knicks basketball. Like, it's not glorified to them. They don't know John Starks and all those guys. Like, those guys are ancient to the new kids of today. No offense, but it's just real. Like, you got to find your way towards some relevancy. And I feel like you got to compete to do that because the Spurs are in a small market. You got to show that you can at least compete and young guys will feel comfortable going there. That way, when you do show the history, they'll say, you know what? I like what they got currently, and I like what they did in the past. Let's work on our future. So, and I feel like the only way you can do that is being somewhat competitive. You can't be a team in a small market like San Antonio that's not a major attraction compared to Houston or Dallas, even in the state of Texas. It's not as attractive as Houston or Dallas, and be at the bottom of the NBA. I mean, look how people look at Utah, the public perception of Utah, even though Salt Lake City is a great city. Like, the public perception of Utah is like, it's a cool little city, but it's Utah. So it's not something that the young is going to really say, I want to go to Utah and play, unless they're competitive. Now you look at Utah, they like, man, forget Wimba. Like, we got something cooking. We got some young guys that's balling. We're winning. We're creating a culture. The culture only gets created when you have success. If you don't have success, it can't be a culture. So keep that in mind, Spurs fans. We want the Spurs to compete. But I'm going to get my day started, man. You guys, like I said, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and we out.